Hello and welcome to the Drug Trip. This channel is here to feed the curiosity of those who would like to gain an insight to the effects of various drugs and substances through user experiences and stories, with our main goal being to entertain and reduce harm and abuse. We post regular trip reports every few days, so if you do enjoy these, we would really appreciate it if you subscribed. And more importantly, we love to hear our viewers' thoughts, opinions and experiences, so please leave something for us in the comment section and we may use it in a future video. Enjoy and be safe. Well, where to begin? Here's my backstory. I'm about 22 years old as I write this. My first experience with drugs was around 5 or 6 weeks ago. I had intentionally avoided drugs of all my life, viewing them as mindless and obnoxious. A younger friend of mine finally convinced me to try weed, and well, let's just say that I changed my mind about drugs. Weed and I have become good friends. I've now smoked weed around a dozen times. After the 4th time I did it, this friend of mine mentioned that a mutual friend was going to do DMT that night. What's that? I wondered. I loved weed, and I wanted to experiment with more potent drugs. No, you're not doing DMT. You've smoked weed like 4 times. DMT is the most powerful psychedelic on the planet. But stubborn me being stubborn me, I insisted. I researched it for hours and concluded that I did indeed want to try it. The mutual friend was reluctant, but he agreed to give me a smaller dose. He had half of a gram, and we were smoking with his makeshift bong. He took around 150 milligrams, and he gave me 50, which seemed to be a much higher dose than what most people online were talking about. But I trusted him, so yeah, being highly inexperienced, I only held the hits for a combined total of maybe 6 seconds. I got a buzz, vibrations around my body, and when I closed my eyes, a feeling like I was experiencing an out-of-body experience. That alone was fascinating, and something that everyone should experience. But it wasn't enough. That's not what I read about. I vowed to get it right the next time. We ordered another gram, and a little under 2 weeks later, we returned to the same place at the same time to give it another try. The mutual friend, who is very experienced in these matters, knew what to prepare for. We did some weed first so that ash could form a barrier in the bowl, blocking out the more pungent taste of the pure DMT, a repulsive, burning plastic-type taste. I was told that I needed 3 good hits. Inhale the first hit for 10 seconds, inhale the second hit for 10 seconds, and then, although your body will start giving out, you have to fight the effect and get a few seconds in of that last good, potent hit. The 3rd hit, I was told, was critical. It was the difference between an amazing trip and a truly breaking through to the other side. 3 of us were there to do it. I went first. I was very nervous. Nervous that I wouldn't get my hits right. Nervous about what I should expect with such an incredibly high dosage. Nervous because I was going first, but when it came time to smoke, I just buckled down and did it. The first hit went in, counting to 10 and out, then quickly reaching for the second, in 10 seconds and out. By now, my body was starting to rush. Things started to blur, but I summoned up the will to get a 3rd hit. It went in and out in around 3 seconds. Then I laid down on the ground onto my pillow, supremely confident that I had done it right, and said, "Well, here I go. Goodbye." And fuck, I was gone. I was transported to another fucking dimension. Before continuing with the experience, let me note that I was not conscious of anything. I wasn't communicating with anyone in the room. I wasn't even aware that I was in the room. Some of the other experiences I've read talk about interactions with others and opening their eyes here and there to get an open eye visual. I'm sorry to say, but they're missing out. I was knocked out unconscious. Some people talk of ego death, and I guess that's what I felt. I literally had no conception of myself. What in the hell do I possibly say to convey to someone what exactly that means? There is no sober parallel to what that means. It doesn't even make sense. If there's no conception of the self, where is the I? And yet, that's what I felt. I was seeing things. I was being led through space, but it really wasn't me. The other side was just like a roller coaster ride. I had no choice but to sit back and be carried away as things unfolded in front of me. I, or my essence, my consciousness, was just floating in space, detached from existence, not fighting anything, not trying to direct anything. It was like I was being given a spiritual tour of the parallel world. And the first thing I remember is the imagery, the infinitely intricate, breathtakingly complex, geometric images that I saw were so indescribably beautiful. One pattern after another, in split seconds unfolded. Dozens of them. They unfolded or melted away as quickly as they appeared. Glowing rainbow colours. Everything had an aura. It turned blue, green, yellow, hot pink, light orange. Unfathomably beautiful. And they kept coming and coming and coming. It's simply astonishing that the mind is capable of such things. Then it's like I'm in space, pitch black darkness with hundreds of glowing rainbow stars in the background, all shining rather beautifully. And I go past these holographic glowing blue floors, and then I saw them. They could be described as aliens or elves. Aliens, since I had the feeling of being in outer space. Elves, because of their elongated ears. They were very thin, but not emaciated. Everything was proportional. Their bodies were comprised of triangular shaped, and were glowing blue too, although they had an aura also. I saw several of them, though I remember certain images most vividly. I saw a family of 3, a mother, a father, and a young boy. She was pouring the boy's cereal at the table, as the father was at the stove, attending to something, talking to a client on the phone. I also saw 2 young women having coffee on a breezy weekday afternoon. I vaguely remember a man showing himself to me as if he were about to go to work, but I didn't interact with them. They said nothing to me. It was just this sense that this was their world, and while things looked mundane, their lives were peaceful and didn't need any interference. I just had to keep going. My ride was taking me elsewhere, and it was all happening so frustratingly quickly. As I felt myself coming down and my consciousness restored, the images kept coming at me at 1,000,000 miles a minute. Images that implicitly conveyed information, mostly evoking feelings of childhood and daily life, although they felt like so much more. Things were just coming and going at lightning speed. There was hardly time to process any of it. It was simply an incomparable show, like a kaleidoscope of dream images, beautiful geometric shapes, and images that so perfectly conveyed particular feelings. When I came to, all I could do for 3 minutes was pound the ground relentlessly, repeating variations of holy shit and what the fuck. It was just pure astonishment, utter disbelief at what I had just experienced. I still felt in the experience for another 5 minutes or so. My body was shaking, I was breathing heavily, and I was still able to feel out of body when I closed my eyes. My friend said that I was out for around 10 to 15 minutes. It felt timeless. When you're there, it's like you're in another dimension, formless, floating, transcendental. All that matters is what's in front of you and the intensity of the ride. I had no conception of anything while in the parallel world. I had no sense of even existing. That other world was all that there was, and I was being shown its grandeur. People have hypothesized that people who think they were abducted by aliens actually experienced an accidental release of DMT. I buy that theory if I'd experienced that and I had no idea why. You can be damn sure that I'd believe it were real. It also seems extremely plausible that this is what dying feels like, a peaceful release. The drug is powerful as all hell, and probably the most intense, positive experience I've ever had. It's a major life event for me, and I think that everyone should try it out, even if they think they cannot handle it. To go from my first bowl of weed to breaking through on DMT in the span of 5 or 6 weeks is pretty outrageous, but I don't regret it at all. Nothing in the world could possibly prepare a person for what they experience when they break through on DMT. My adventurous side took a hold of me, and damn, that was amazing. I did my best, but nothing, and I mean nothing, in this world can describe the beauty and intensity of DMT's parallel world.